Welcome to the Yoga to Entrepreneur, the podcast for yoga teachers who want to build a thriving business. If you're a yoga teacher looking to turn your passion into a profitable career, you've come to the right place. Each week, I'll bring you expert tips from myself as well as from some incredible guest speakers who share their strategies for growing a yoga business. From marketing and branding to growth strategy and client retention, I'll cover all the essential elements of building a successful yoga business. Get ready to take your yoga business to the next level with Yogi to Entrepreneur. Hello and welcome to the Yogi to Entrepreneur podcast. Today, I'm really excited to have the amazing Chloe Blades from Your Social Big Sis on with me to talk all about our lovely social media. Love it or hate it, we pretty much all have it or using it for our business. So hello, Chloe, welcome.
Hello, thank you so much for that introduction. Yeah, I know some people hate social media, but let's say that I'm going to hopefully change that perspective today.
Good. I mean, I've got to say, I've sometimes got a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. I know it's really good for certain things and be social if you're using it correctly, obviously. But yeah, sometimes it's still like a love-hate, but it's fine. It's growing. It's all a learning curve.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
before we dive in, do you just quickly want to introduce yourself, Chloe, just to tell everyone how amazing you are?
Oh, bless you. Yeah, so I said yeah, like I agree. No. Thank you for the intro. But yeah, so I've been a social media manager for almost 3 years now. I actually graduated with a creative direction degree in 2017, which we did do a little bit of social media in that, but back then it wasn't such a thing to study. So I did dabble in a social media a little bit back then. And then I worked in corporate in the social media team for a corporate perfume company. And then, yeah, I've been self employed for nearly 2 years. So I landed my first client, my social media management client, whilst I was doing social media in the perfume shop, corporate company, and grew from there. So yeah, it's been a couple of years now. And then I also mentor and coach on the side. So I help startup social media managers and also social media coaching if people need, that support as well. So yeah.
Amazing. Thanks for that lovely introduction. So I know you've seen my post on Instagram at least that put out questions for some of my followers, I guess. Whoever saw that on my Instagram story. Let's actually start with that question then that I actually got in is how to increase your Instagram story views. So in that particular example, they're getting about 15 to 20% of the followers seem to actually just see their stories. So they'll actually want to increase that. If you
Yeah.
have any lovely tips for that.
Oh, I could talk about this forever, honestly. But with that sort of conversion rate, do you know what? That's actually good. People say around 10 to 40% is average. And I know that's quite vague and quite big. But if you're hitting in there, I mean, you're doing something right. You just need to do something better. And it's about finding what your audience are going to, warm to and interact with. I feel like with stories, it is really the place to sell. And well, let's say 99% of my sales have come off the back of, someone interacting with my story. So it is powerful. First of all, before I get into like tips and stuff, please know that anyone that is looking at your story is interested in what you're doing. So you've already got someone interested in what you're doing. If they haven't bought yet, they will. It's just a matter of time. So that sort of mindset is good to carry through. But celebrate anyone looking at your stories, honestly, because it's almost like an insight to your life, and if someone cares enough to watch your story, it's a great sign. But what I would say is stories do have their own algorithm, as annoying that as that word probably is, because people will always say, oh, I hate the algorithm and stuff like that, but unfortunately they do. Well, unfortunately and fortunately, because it gives you a chance to, some people might sell loads on stories and not so much on the grid, or it might be vice versa. So it almost gives you two opportunities, really. So if you feel like your engagement is low on your stories, the best thing to do is take a 24-hour break. So instead of just keep piling in stories and just, keep trying to think of something new to say or show something else and think, oh, I haven't shown me making my coffee in the morning or whatever it is. Don't worry, just leave it and let it time out. And what you want to do is have a rest, because it almost reboots the algorithm. So say, for example, I've woken up and I've taken a picture of my coffee. This is just a very generic, example. And no one really looked at it, no one really liked it or engaged with it. If I then went to post another story, it's going to show it to less people, and less people are going to see it through, because the Instagram algorithm's already seen no one's interested in your story. We're not going to then show it again. So the best thing to do is to take a break. So let your story time out. That might be, say, for example, you've posted at 5 o'clock. Wait until at least sort of 7 p.m. the next day, I'd say, just to really let it time out and reboot itself. And then when you go back in with a story, have an interactive poll or feature to get people engaged in your stories again. That's going to show Instagram that people are interested in what you're doing, and they can see that they're engaging with your stuff. So it could be that you let it time out. You then ask a really thought-provoking question, or a vote this if you agree with this, or how does this make you feel, and really get people interacting on a poll. I think the poll's the best example for that, because everything else maybe takes a little bit more effort. Polls are just easy to click. Question boxes sometimes, people can't be bothered to write an answer. So polls are my favorite, definitely, for boosting your engagement. Another thing you want to think about is taking people on a journey. You don't want to just show up on stories just for the fact of showing up on stories. You want to have a motive. You want to have something that is going to guide them somewhere, or help them, or inspire them, or teach them something. You don't want to just post for the sake of posting. That's literally the worst thing you can do. So if there's nothing that comes to mind and you are just posting for the sake of posting, honestly, don't worry, just leave it until you feel inspired to say something, until you are inspired to ask a question or show something motivating or provide a bit of value. Then just leave it, because it's not worth damaging the algorithm for just showing up for the sake of showing up. So yeah, I think my main tip would be to let it rest. You don't have to post on your stories every single day unless you are getting good engagement. Then yes, sure, show up every single day. But if you're not getting good engagement, I would say every other day, with really thought-provoking questions to sort of trigger that algorithm again. And then you want to show behind the scenes. That's where people are going to connect with you. I always say, when someone is going to purchase, especially online, they need to have a sense of security and safety. If they can't see that you're a real person and you have, real day-to-day struggles, or whatever your personality is like, if that's not coming through, which obviously is a great way to do on stories, they're not going to feel safe to then invest in you. So you want to take them on a journey. You want to almost touch base with them like it's a diary, and say, I'm back doing this again. It's Tuesday. I'm here again. Like, what are you up to in your day? And show, depending on obviously your target audience, then make it relatable. You don't, if say, for example, your target audience was, I'm just going to go really like off the book here, but a property investor, you wouldn't say, oh, I've just taken my son swimming, like, with no motive, because that doesn't relate to that audience. It needs to be, connecting to the right person. If you are trying to attract people in the wellness industry, show that you're doing something for your wellness. Maybe you've gone on a nice walk, or ask them what they're doing, and really giving them an insight to your life, because that's going to be what connects them to you, and then making them feel safe to purchase. There's loads that I can talk about on stories. I don't want to go on for too long, but yeah, definitely try the 24-hour thing, and then going back in with an interactive feature, and making sure that you're taking them on a journey of, this is my life, this is my purpose, this is why I'm here doing what I do. Because your grid, I like to say, is your shop window, and then the stories is almost like when you're talking inside the shop and you want to get to know them a little bit, and then the checkout is the tills. So you want to almost take them through that journey. But yeah.
Am I correct in saying, and I heard this somewhere, and I don't know how true this is, that your grid or your grid is not as visible as your stories? Or is that just a myth?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard that one, but I feel like maybe it's more because algorithm is so competitive with grid posts. You've got a bigger competition. So say, for example, I always watch your stories, you will always be shown on my stories, because I'm obviously engaging with stories. But if I didn't like the last of your few posts, just for the pure fact that I haven't seen it because of the algorithm,
Yeah.
they won't then continue to show your posts. So yeah, it definitely can work
Mm.
like that. That's why it's important to almost see them as two different
Yeah.
features instead of like, oh, I just need to post on my stories and oh, I need to post on my grid. It really is an opportunity to utilize both because
Mm.
you don't know how your audience is best going to react, and that does take testing as well.
Amazing. So much like head explosion stuff already. So I always
Sorry.
only do no in a good way. It's funny because earlier on I was on Instagram. I was like, oh no, I was penning. I was like, no, I've got nothing in my stories. I was like, ah,
Yeah.
but which is as it's probably not actually a bad thing to as you just said. I don't actually know what my last stories were, but yeah, I think I'm just gonna let it reset a little bit and then start tomorrow again. So
Yeah, and also you can use it as a place of market research. Like if you think
mm,
one day I haven't posted anything on my stories, people get a bit stressed out and they're like, I don't know what to post. This is your
mm,
opportunity to to get some market research, learn about your audience, like show them that you do generally care about them, and
yeah,
ask them a question like, what would benefit? Obviously, you want to bring it back to your business because we're all building
yeah,
businesses at the end of the day. So, what's going to benefit them and you to make this relationship happen? So, think, what are you struggling with right now, or ask them a question that will benefit you, and then you can reach out to those people and say, oh, I saw that you're struggling with this thing,
mm,
have you heard about my membership, or have you heard about my free group, or whatever it is, and building those
yeah,
conversations as well. So almost think of it as a, yeah, it's my, behind the scenes, it's a chance for me to get to know everyone and them to get to know me. But also if you're feeling stuck, think, oh, this is my opportunity
mm,
to get a better understanding, and then that can help you produce content as well.
amazing. Thank you so much for that.
Mhm.
Um, the another question that we had is going more towards Facebook now, is how to get an engaged Facebook group.
Mm.
I don't know if they have already a established group and the engagement has just dropped, or if they've just started a new group. But I guess if you have tips for both scenarios, I guess.
Yeah, I think with Facebook groups, I mean, to be completely honest, I am an Instagram girl all day long.
Fair enough.
But I do run, Facebook groups. I have my own
Mm,
Facebook groups, and all my clients have Facebook groups. So I'm very like, in that world. But a couple of things that I want to say. Number one, if your engagement is dropping, it might be for a couple of the reasons. And I hope I don't want to come across like I'm outing anyone here, but this is just
no, no.
generally something for the listeners to think about. Are you aligned to the purpose of that group, or do you just have the group because you think you need the group? Because a lot of the time people go, oh, I need a free Facebook group, or I need a private Facebook group, whatever it is, but they don't actually want one. And then what happens is the energy is off
Mm,
because they don't actually care about serving in the Facebook group. And what I always say, especially if I have calls with clients, especially new clients, if they're, a bit unsure,
mm,
is, what are you using it for? What is the purpose? And are you excited about having it? Because if you're not excited about having it, put your energy somewhere else. And I know that
yeah,
might sound quite cutthroat, but you don't, no one's telling you you have to have one. Maybe your audience don't engage in Facebook anymore. Maybe they are more active on YouTube or LinkedIn or blogs or Zoom calls,
yeah,
whatever it is. Like, know your audience. But saying that, if your audience are on Facebook and they do like groups and they want that community, and you do want to have that, area of your business, then
mm,
what I would say is have a little reflection on the stuff that you're posting in there. And again, one of the best ways to boost engagement is engagement polls and questions.
mm,
So one of my clients, for example, has a group, and the best engaged posts are always when you're asking them a question about themselves and giving them a chance to like express themselves or share something about
mm,
themselves. So if your engagement's dropping and you're just generally posting, I don't know, a top tip or something like that, people might
mm,
see it and not do anything with it. They might go, oh, that was
yeah,
nice, and then not do anything. But if you're actually trying to talk to them and engage, and again, it's another chance for market research, really. So,
mm,
say, for example, your ideal client is a personal trainer. Again, I'm just throwing sort of industries out there just as an example. You can say, how many clients ideally would you work with next month? And then it could be like 1, 2, 3, 4. Or what's your favorite thing about nutrition, I don't know, whatever it is, and then
Yeah,
get them
yeah.
to interact, get them to vote, and then, you know, have that going on in the group and spice it up a little bit. If you haven't tried, you know, going live or an engagement post where you put share your Instagram and then you can give people a chance to, you know,
Mm.
connect and follow each other and stuff like that. If you haven't been trying these things, then definitely just implement them and see if there's a change. If not, and you're dreading it and you don't want to show up and you're just like, this is rubbish, it's not working, I think it's okay to say it's not working right now and give it a rest.
Mm.
I think it's up to that person. If this is something they really want to work, then try new things, go live in there, offer like a weekly recurring post. So it
Mm.
could be Motivation Monday, it could be Top Tip Tuesday, it could be Wellness Wednesday, or whatever it is, Feel Good
Mm.
Friday. Share what's gone right for you this week. Have that like recurring theme, because people like to have, like, it's called series content. People like to have something that happens all the time. This is
Mm.
also good for Instagram, really, and stories and stuff. But yeah, if you haven't tried engagement posts, polls, questions, lives, and stuff like that, then definitely try that before before you just stop. But yeah, if it's one of those things that's just like an extra burden, your energy's not going to align to it. And that's
Mm.
why I don't have a free group. I've got a paid membership group, and then I've got a workshop group that if I ever hold like 3-day workshops, people are in there. So that is
Mm.
free, but I don't generally use it.
Yeah.
And that's enough. It's a full-time job trying to run all of them. So don't put more on yourself than you need to.
I was going to say, I mean, you don't, I mean, they do say, focus on one or two platforms and then like really nail those platforms and then maybe branch out. But as you say, it's like a full-time job. Like if you're on all social media channels that there are, yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like people think, especially as online business owners, and you know, I'm guilty of it myself, but we think we have to be good at everything and doing everything and being
Mm.
everywhere, you know, getting seen. We need email marketing, we need TikTok now, Instagram, YouTube, to all of this stuff. It gets so consuming and it's really
Yeah.
overwhelming. I think a few things here, not to go off topic too much, but number one, figure out where your ideal client are hanging out,
Mm.
because you might be
Yeah.
spending all your time on Instagram, but actually they're on LinkedIn, or you might be spending all your time trying to master your Facebook groups, but actually they don't hang out on Facebook anymore. So it's about understanding your ideal client's best platform, and yeah,
Yeah.
then you know, divide and conquer. You want to master one, feel comfortable and confident with one. Again, knowing where your ideal client is, obviously putting your energy there, and then
Yeah.
once you feel comfortable, you know, develop and expand as you can. But to try and do it all at once is just, it's just not doable.
No, not worth running your actual business because for the majority of people, social media is not their business. And I have clients myself that don't actually want to be in social media. So they're literally not, which is fine. So they just have other avenues to um get hold of their clients essentially. But yeah,
What
it's
reasons do they, what are the main reasons they don't want to be on social media?
um I think number one, it's quite overwhelming. It's a part of it, I think it's also for some of them is like the fear of being out there, that fear of being seen and stuff. And then with some of my clients, I do work obviously through that as well, because I mean, yeah, if you have a fear of being seen, especially as a yoga teacher, I mean, I've been there, so I hate, and I don't make a big deal out of this or a big secret. I hate talking in front of people.
Mm.
Yet I teach yoga. So, it, and I think the month after I graduated from my yoga teacher training, I was teaching at a yoga festival down here. So I was teaching in front of a good amount of people. I don't actually know how many there were in the end, but it was a good amount. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? But I just did it, and I did it because it was so out of my comfort zone. That's why I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
it's
think,
just one of those things.
yeah, and I think I completely get that. And I know I've got clients myself that, you know, don't have that fear of showing up. And I think the more you leave it,
Mm.
the worse it gets. And then you're like, well, I
Yeah,
haven't done for weeks now. I can't go back. And it gets, you know, harder and harder.
yeah.
A few things I would say, again, one, find your platform, because you don't have
Mm.
to be, I don't sing and dance around on TikTok or Reels. And, you know, that's probably like a lot of my fellow social media managers do that, and that's fine. But that's not me. I'm a talker. I can
Yeah.
sit and talk to camera, but I'm not going to get up and start pointing and dancing. I've tried it and I felt awkward. It doesn't suit me. And I think people think, to show up on socials, you have to be doing things like that. But actually, it's just about finding, number one, the platform that works for you. So say, for example, you don't like, loads of pictures of yourself. It might be LinkedIn that works for you, because you could just, like, LinkedIn loves text, and you can maybe have a nice image and then loads of text, or a blog or something like that. Get really good at blogging, and you don't have to be constantly taking selfies, or there's definitely ways around it. So first of all, I'd say find your platform and get comfortable with that one, and learn that platform, and learn how you can operate it in the best way that suits you. And then second of all, I would say it's definitely a mindset thing, and shifting it from it's not about me, it's about who I can serve, and thinking people need to hear from me, people need my service. The fear of showing up is definitely there, but actually what's more important is me getting my message out there, or me helping my ideal client. And I think once you kind of think, I know when I think about it myself, if I think, oh, I'm having a bad skin day, I don't want to talk on camera, I'll just think, no one cared, and no one's here to look at my skin, everyone's here to listen to what I have to say. And that really does help me, because sometimes I don't show up because I feel rubbish in myself. And again, you don't have to show up every day. You really don't. Like once or twice a week on stories or whatever. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. But I definitely don't show up every day. And sometimes I do feel, insecure or tired or unwell. And that's fine. But the days that I do, I just have to remind myself it's not actually about me. It's about them. And that just helps me. So I don't know if anyone's listening that try that mindset where you think people aren't looking at me, they're listening because they're looking for help. And it's about them, and make it about, your audience.
No, absolutely. I can't actually remember, someone in one of the trainings that I think I did, they said something along those lines. They don't actually care about you as such. It's, they don't care if you're in like your PJs, in your dressing gown, whatever. I mean, that it's your message, as you say, it's what you can offer them, and the value that you provide. So
yeah, it's about
I mean,
building that more of a, I guess, especially in who you help, is like more of a spiritual connection, or more relatable, or more trustworthy. It's those elements rather than you as a person. Like no one's gonna, well, your ideal client's not gonna care, like you said, care about what jumper you're wearing or how you've done your hair. Like people aren't going to look for that. It is really just, they're trying to build that connection so they feel safe to purchase, and to feel safe is to have that connection. That's really what it is.
Amazing. So many light bulb moments.
Oh.
Great. Another question that came through was about posting, and I guess with scheduling on from Facebook, for example, posting to Instagram and Facebook at the same time with the same content. Is there any harm? Should you manually post to Facebook, Instagram? What
Scheduling.
I mean, I know it constantly changes anyway, so what it now works potentially doesn't work tomorrow, but
Yeah, so obviously, as we're talking about this, like you said, like things always change, but generally speaking, okay, a couple of things. Like if you're going to schedule, and you're looking for a scheduler, or you're using one and you're up for changing it, whatever, I do just really recommend Meta Business Suite, because it's free, and Facebook own it. So if you ever hear, it damages your reach, third party apps have never, it's never been confirmed. But what I can say is that the apps want you to be on the apps. So if you're constantly scheduling and you're never active, like you're never engaging with your audience, or you're never, messaging or having that connection and that sociable time on the app, they'll see that and they'll, lower your reach, because they can see you're pretty inactive. And they can see your time spent on the app. So I just would be cautious of that. So if you are scheduling, definitely use Meta Business Suite. I mean, there are so many others out there that, are fine. I just think it's really important to be active as well. So if you're scheduling on Meta Business Suite for Instagram, just make sure you're spending some time on Instagram, replying to comments, following people that, are right for you and stuff like that. With regards to scheduling at the same time, there's no harm in that. But what I would be careful of is that it fits the platform, because people can
Mm,
see if you've just clicked to share to both and you haven't tweaked it or made it fit to that platform, people can see that you've done that, and that it looks unthought, like it looks like there's no thought behind
mm,
it. It looks like you've just copied and pasted, which you have. So you kind of want you kind of want to edit it a little bit. So say for example on the Instagram post you've got 20 hashtags, I would take that down to 2 or 3 on Facebook, because that's not, that's not really utilized on Facebook at all. It's not going to damage anything, but it just looks untidy and it's not going to help you
yeah.
at all. So take the hashtags out. It could be that, on the Instagram post it says link in bio, whereas on Facebook you can actually attach the link, because on the
Mm,
post people can click on the link. So just little things like that, just tweaking it a little bit just to make it more suitable for the app. And also things like carousels. So if you're posting obviously more than one picture, you can swipe across on Instagram, but you can't on Facebook.
mm,
So it's worth just having that one strong image on Facebook with a great caption, and then a few on Instagram so people can swipe through.
mm,
So there's no harm. There's absolutely no harm, and I do it myself. I don't personally use it for my business, but I use it for my clients, and it's great. It's so handy and it's free, and
mm,
yeah, Meta like you staying within the company. So I definitely recommend using that. It's just being mindful about the layout and how you're like using both of the
mm,
apps, and then spending time. There's a few apps out there. There's one called Buffer, and you can
mhm,
actually link all of your social media. So you can link your Twitter, your LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. There might be something else. Um, Again, if I do have one client on that. I don't use that for reels because you can't schedule like great reels on there and get the orders
mm,
and stuff. But if it's just a generic post, I just would go into each one and make sure they're all optimized for that platform. Again,
mm,
Twitter's got like you can't have as many characters on a Twitter caption, so you just go
yeah.
in and edit accordingly. But yeah, there's no damage. Just be mindful about how that's going to look on the platform.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that it makes absolute sense. As you say, especially like Twitter being so restricted as well. With was it 280 characters? I don't know. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it's
It's like super
long.
short. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah. Uh, yeah, it's funny because I write my own posts generally outside of anything. So I just have a pay. Well, I do have it online, but just away from anything so that I don't get distracted. And the amount of times that I then want to post it to Instagram. It's like too long. I'm just like, oh, crying out loud.
Yeah. I think Facebook and LinkedIn have such a bigger character space on like with the text. So I
Mm,
definitely like if you love writing long captions and your audience, warm to that and respond to that, it might be LinkedIn that you opt for, or Facebook, or even blogs, and writing all that text like we spoke about earlier. But with
yeah.
Instagram, it is really annoying. If it's really, really long, but it needs to be in there, just say part 2 in the comments and just copy it into the comments. And if people want to read it, they want to read it. But I would say the app have got that specific amount of characters for a reason. So
Yeah, no,
unless it's like,
absolutely.
yeah, unless it's like super necessary and it's this whole story, I would condense it and then maybe put the
Yeah.
text into a carousel. But I love a long caption, and I know my audience appreciate a long caption. And
Mm,
I would say like it is always worth as well finding out what your audience do respond to. And I always say, if you've
mm,
got a long caption, sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole now.
that's all right.
If you've got a long caption, try and put the call to action twice. Because if someone
Mm,
doesn't complete the caption, you've missed an opportunity to be like, oh, you can get this service in my
yeah.
bio, or whatever you want them to do. So it could almost be like the caption at the top says, I've got the solution to this problem. Check out the link in my bio, and then go into description and then say it again.
Mm,
This wouldn't apply to every single post, but if the caption is really long,
yeah.
it's worth mentioning a few times just because people drop off as they read.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I do it. I'm sure you do it every now and then as well. So, um, question with the link in bio, having that actually written in your Instagram post, does that restrict anything? As in, does that restrict your reach? I there was a discussion the other. I don't know. Was that it was? I don't know if that was a retreat that we actually went to, or if that was a discussion somewhere else. That the link in bio actually restricts reach.
I haven't seen necessarily restrict reach, but what I
Mm,
will say is that the conversion of someone actually taking time to go to your link in bio
mm,
is, again, you're going to get people that drop off, so you want to make it
Yeah.
as easy as possible. I have a link in the bio, and I feel like it's necessary to have there, because it's almost
Mm.
like your, again, it's like your portfolio or your shop window. Everything's here, and
Yeah.
you've got access to it, they've got access to it. But what I would say is making sure that you're using the links in your stories as well, so people can literally just click
Mm.
on the story. So if you're talking about something, it needs to be so like straightforward, straight to the point,
Yeah.
easy to do. What I would say that I've found works better for me is DM me the word ready, or
Mm.
DM me the word health, whatever it is,
Yeah.
because some people don't want to start a conversation because they don't know what to say. So if they see your service and they go, oh, I'd like to do that, but I'm not sure what
Mm.
to say right now, I'll message them tomorrow, and then they forget about it. But if you
Yeah.
give them a conversation starter, DM me this word, it's so
Mm.
much easier for them to just DM you the word. And that conversion rate for me has been higher than link in the bio. Sometimes I do say link in the bio if I just
Yeah.
genuinely want to direct them to a freebie or whatever it is. But again, with a freebie, you can say DM me the word freebie and I'll send you the link. People quite
Yeah.
like that. And again, you're building then a conversation in the DMs, having that, building more
Yeah.
relationships with people, which ultimately we all want to do and grow our business. I wouldn't say there's any sort of damage to it. I think it's
Mm.
definitely worth having a link in the bio. I know I've heard different stories about Linktree and stuff like that, but there's never been anything proven to damage. So
Yeah.
I personally haven't seen anything. Everyone's different, and you might find, again, like whoever's listening to this, if your audience react better to link in bio or DM me the word and then give them a word to say, just test it, just see what better conversion rate you get. And
Mm.
I'm sure after a couple of weeks, you want to try these things for a good couple of weeks, and then you'll see actually 10 people messaged me the word ready and no one clicked the link in the bio. Sometimes it's hard to
Mm.
track what people do depending on what link you have, but if you've got no sales but you've got a few inquiries in the DMs, maybe stick with that, and that might work better.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend keeping the link there.
Yeah. No, no, absolutely. I am a big fan of having at least a link to your website, if nothing else, in your bio.
Mm.
Um, Especially, I mean, I guess with these days where we're the majority of us offering so many things as well, so many different things like freebies, your extra services. You might
Mm.
have a blog, you have XYZ, you might do a host a retreat, whatever. Um, that's why I quite like link in bio, because they can just go where they actually want to go without getting too overwhelmed almost, when they go just on your website, for example, depending on how your website is set out. So
And if there is, I don't know if you have any clients like this, but if there is anyone that doesn't have, because I know sometimes it's overwhelming, people might not even have like landing pages or offer pages if they're
mm,
not there in their business yet. I would literally just have a link to your LinkedIn page, or your another like social media account, or a Facebook group, or your Facebook profile, just a link just to sort of bounce people around, because if there's no link, it almost, I personally feel like it looks less professional, because it's like you're
mm,
just leaving people hanging. So I think if you are listening to this and you don't have a website yet, I honestly would, I don't have a website, I use Kajabi and I've got loads of pages in there, but I would personally just say have something. And there's apps out there, there's one called Milkshake, I think it's called,
mm,
it literally is just an app, and it's all set out for you, and you can just drop things in and it looks amazing. You could create like a little portfolio or something. So just having something in there, I think
mm.
builds credibility, and it sends people, to different areas of your business. I think it's really important to have it there.
Yeah, I guess the people can then also see what else you're doing, because I guess on one platform you just tend to just showing one
Yeah.
side of your business, but then they go to LinkedIn and they see something completely not completely different, because you would still want to have a keep it to your business, but see a different side of you, I guess. So,
Yeah.
and then obviously if you have a YouTube, for example, then off you go.
Yeah, and
That.
you want to think about, like, if you don't, I'm sure a lot of people do have links and websites and stuff, but if you
Mm,
don't, like, and you're thinking about next steps, you really just want to think, where do I want to drive people to? Is it
mm,
a podcast? Is it a Facebook group? Is it my LinkedIn? Like, am I more, maybe someone's more active on LinkedIn, has an Instagram account, and you can be honest and say, I'm more active over here. Follow me on LinkedIn with
mm,
like an arrow. Or I don't really use Instagram that much. I've got a blog, follow my blog. So just think,
mm.
what do you like doing? Where do you like showing up? and directing people to there. So you're building that sort of more of like a brand awareness piece, I suppose, and you're building
Mm,
that element out. So you're not just like leaving them hanging on Instagram or wherever it is.
amazing. Thank you. Now we're coming towards the end anyway, but I was just, and this is going to be a big open question. If you have, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 tips, like in general, when it comes, I mean, you've given us so many tips already anyway, but when it comes to social media.
Oh, I can honestly, I should probably like round this up. I can honestly talk forever. Um, okay, a couple of tips that come to mind. One being that I always talk about personal brand. And like I said at the beginning, again, I won't go into this too much because I did briefly touch on this, but when you are building an online business, people will not purchase or work with you if they don't feel safe to. And it's a subconscious thing. People don't even realize that they're doing it, but it's human nature to not make a decision unless you feel safe. It's just how we're wired. So if you're not visible on your page, if you're not, there's no image of you, or again, it doesn't have to be that you're singing and dancing all the time, but if there's no personal brand there,
Mm,
um no, they won't feel safe to purchase and work with you. So you really want to build that trust, and I think personal brand with an online business or an online presence in general is so important. So what I mean by personal brand is just telling your story, telling people why you do what you do, why are you passionate about it, what has your business done for you, and what has it done for other people, what's your journey been like to get to where you are today, what maybe qualifications do you have? Not that you need to sit
mm,
and list your qualifications, but it could just be a reflection post on, oh my goodness, this time last year I graduated from this thing, or this time 10 years ago I graduated from this thing. And it's just building up that
mm,
real personality behind the business. It might even be that you've got an image of someone doing yoga, or a really calming image, or a tip, or whatever it is, but the
mm,
caption is just really detailed into maybe a bit of reflection or a bit of story time about you, because like I said, people need to feel safe. um Another thing is, I think, finding your consistency, because like we said at the beginning, people have the fear, and I think this will resonate with your audience the most, is people have that fear of like showing up and then
mm,
tumbleweed, and people think consistency means posting once a day or twice
mm.
a day, when it really
Yeah.
doesn't. It honestly is just what works for you and what is not going to stress you out or overwhelm you or burn you out, because like we said, it is a full-time job trying to run socials, trying to run your own business. Maybe you've got a family, like personal life, all of this stuff. It can be really overwhelming, and you don't want social media to be a chore. You want it to be a blessing. This is a free resource that you can use and utilize and optimize to your advantage. Obviously there's paid ads and stuff like that, but it's free. Like,
Yeah.
try and find the joy in that. Like, years and years ago, if you wanted to build a business, you'd have to be knocking on doors, you'd have to be
Yeah.
talking to people. Well, I know we go to retreats and stuff like that, but it would be a lot harder to build a business
Mm,
years and years ago. So I think we've lost that a little bit. So I think find your power in how you can show up, how you feel comfortable showing up, because it doesn't have to be singing and dancing. What consistency looks like to you. It could be 2 posts a week, it could be 1 post a week, it could be one a day. Stick with that though. So if you decide 3 times a week, stick with 3 times a week.
mm,
Don't do 3 times a week for a couple of months and then completely fall off again. Try and find that balance. What's going to work for you? You might need to hire help, you might need to get a VA, you might need to get a coach, you might need to, delegate
mm,
other areas of your life. If you're spending loads of time writing emails, maybe you need to find someone to help you with emails so you can balance it a little bit better, because it can
mm.
get overwhelming and you can't do it all by yourself. But finding what works for you is so important to having a better relationship with social media.
Amazing.
I hope that
Thank you
helps.
so much. Yes, it does. As I said, you've given myself and the listeners so many like tips, and I'm sure there's so many light bulb moments as well, not just for me, just for everyone else as well. So thank you very much.
No.
Um, I will put your link and everything into the comments anyway, into the show notes. But just let our listeners know where they can find you if they want to get in touch with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, well,
obviously on LinkedIn.
yeah, shocked that I'm on social media. No, primarily Instagram, to be honest, at
Mm.
Your Social Big Sis. Yeah, I'm very active on Instagram, and I try and give tips on there. So feel free to yeah, have a look at that, and let me know if anyone needs advice. I'm a helping hand, and I love talking, as you can tell. So if yeah, reach out to me at Your Social Big Sis.
Thanks. I'll put the link to that in the show notes as well. But thanks so much, Chloe, for your time today. And I will talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. That's it for today's episode of Yogi to Entrepreneur. I hope you found this discussion helpful in growing your yoga business. If you have any questions or suggestions for future topics, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps me reach more yoga teachers like you who want to build a thriving business. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Yogi to Entrepreneur.